A FormKiQ API walkthrough using Postman. In this FormKiQ snippet, we will show you how to use the FormKiQ API with the Postman API network. We will walk through the basic document management functions of adding and updating documents, including adding document attributes, and then using those attributes to search for specific documents. The first step is retrieving the FormKiQ API Key URL from CloudFormation. We'll look at the CloudFormation Outputs tab of our FormKiQ installation to get the API URL. We are going to access the FormKiQ API in Postman using FormKiQ's API key authorization, so we'll search for the output parameter named key API URL. We'll want to keep track of this value since we'll be using it in Postman in just a little bit. Next, we'll log into the FormKiQ document console. We need to generate an API key that we can use for our API calls. Under Administration, select API Keys, and click the Create New button. Give your API key a name and select the read and write permissions. Click the Create button. Make sure to save the generated API key. Now that we have the FormKiQ API URL and an API key, we are ready to use the FormKiQ API. The Postman API Network is a collection of publicly available APIs that enables creators to publish their APIs and developers to easily use them. The FormKiQ API is published to the Postman API Network, which makes it really easy to get started. Clicking the Postman API Network link from our FormKiQ Docs API walkthrough page will bring us to the FormKiQ Collections page. As you can see, there are 3 different collections to support the 3 different authorization methods that FormKiQ supports. Since we are using the key-based authorization, we'll select the FormKiQ API Key collection. We will now fork the collection into your workspace so it can connect to your FormKiQ installation. Select the collection to fork. Click the Fork button. Give your fork a name and select the workspace to fork into. Now that the collection has been forked into your workspace, we can connect it to your FormKiQ installation. This is done by setting the collection variables. Select the Variables tab. Change the current value of the base URL to the API key URL we got from the CloudFormation Outputs tab. Then, we'll set the current value of the API key to the API key that we generated from the FormKiQ document console. We are now ready to use the FormKiQ API. Let's add a simple text document. Under the documents, we have the Add New Document request. To keep things simple, we'll remove both the site ID and share key parameters. But keep in mind that site ID is generally an important parameter whenever you are working with more than one site. Click the Body tab. We'll replace the default content with properties that will create our simple text document. We then click the Send button to try it out. As you can see, a document ID is returned. This is the unique identifier for this document. This method of adding a document works well for tasks like creating or updating a JSON document. Now we will add a small PDF document. The difference in this request is that the content value is a base64 encoded version of the file, so we set the isBase64 property to true. Click the Send button and we'll get a new document ID returned. This Add Document endpoint has a limitation in that it only supports documents up to 5 megabytes in size. However, this method works well for pre-upload tasks like client-side object manipulation, such as applying image filters before adding to FormKiQ. To add a document larger than 5 megabytes, we will need to use one of the document upload endpoints. We can find it in Postman as Add Large Document. For this endpoint, we add a similar body as above, except we do not include the content, and we don't need to include the isBase64 property either. When we send this request, in the response we will receive a document ID and an upload URL. The upload URL is an S3 pre-signed URL that we can use to upload documents up to 5 gigabytes in size. To upload the file, we'll create a new Postman request. To upload the file, we'll create a new Postman request. Under the body, select Binary. Set the method to Put, and we can then select the file we want to upload. We recommend using this pre-signed URL method for document uploads since it works for both small and large files, as well as for both text and binary. Next, we're going to look at document attributes. Attributes are structured metadata associated with documents. They are used to store key and value pairs, as well as keys with multiple values. that provide additional context, consistency in data structure, and enhanced search capabilities. Before we can add an attribute to a document, we have to create the attribute. Under the Attributes folder, select Add New Attribute. FormKiQ supports a number of different data types, but for this example, we will create a simple string attribute that we'll name document type. Now, if we go back to our Add New Document endpoint, we can add a document and the attributes for that document at the same time. For existing documents, we can add document attributes by posting one or more attributes to that existing document. Now that we have a document with an attribute, we can use the Search API to find documents by attribute. Under Search, select the document search. We will update the body to supply the attribute we are looking to match and the value to match on. For the key document type, where the value equals contract. This will find all documents where the document type equals contract. We can also change our search to find all documents where the document type begins with CO. Lastly, we can search inside the folder structure. This folder structure is automatically created from the document's path metadata. Here, we will list all documents in the root folder. And that's how we get things started. We've now walked through the basics of FormKiQ's API using Postman, adding documents and attributes, and then searching for them. With FormKiQ's API and Postman, you have the ability to do much more, including OCR and other document processing actions. Thanks for watching.